Welcome to the Nation Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Thoreau.
Tom Jones, and boy, have we got a show for you today.
Yes,
we have
do.
The Commissioner of the League, yes, of the League, Scott Butera. We're actually having him join us on Skype.
And we also have a sit-down conversation in person here at Blue Water with former Chicago Rush quarterback and San Jose SaberCat quarterback, Russ Michna.
So thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the show.
We want to thank Scott Butera, the Commissioner of the Arena Football League, for joining us today on the Nation Podcast. I'm Eric Thoreau, I'm your host.
Tom Jones.
And basically, we're going to have a discussion basically on what's going on and with the league, and also how Scott become commissioner with the league, and what to look forward for the 2016 season.
You know, first of all, I want to thank you for being here today with us on this podcast. Appreciate you.
I really appreciate the opportunity to spend the afternoon with you guys. Appreciate the coverage, and I think it's great that you guys take a great interest in our league, and hopefully we'll have a lot of exciting news, coming up to share with everyone.
Yeah, just to give you a little background, I met you briefly last year at the Arena Bowl in Stockton, and basically I've been, a season ticket holder for 15 years with the SaberCats. I had front row seats, never missed a game. And most recently, we've been going to a lot more road games to, go to the Anaheim. I've been there twice. I've been to Portland and also Arizona multiple times. My co-host, Tom, he's been with season ticket holder since 1995.
Since 95, the beginning, the first year. And I was actually a Niners season ticket holder before that. But when my son was born, the NFL environment just wasn't really adaptable to a whole family environment. So what really brought me to the Arena League was the fact that you can bring your whole family, and it's not going to cost you as much as an NFL game. So I've been a fan ever since 95, and there's a lot of people who aren't going to fork out the money and take their family to an NFL game, but they want their whole family to kind of be a part of it, and that's what the Arena Football League is all about.
Well, I think a couple things that you've mentioned that are really important to us. One, I joined the league, as you mentioned, about a year and a half ago, and really it was to help turn the league around and make it a great league. But what I've learned about the Arena Football League is, one, we have an incredibly, satisfied, loyal fan base, and I continue to hear stories like your stories, and it's really encouraging because I think what you recognize, people who've experienced the Arena Football League, you get great product. I think the football is underappreciated in terms of the quality of play. I mean, we have a lot of players that are right on that cusp of being NFL caliber players. Many of them go to the NFL or come back, but it's a very hard hitting, fast, exciting brand of high quality football that's well coached, and there's a lot of preparation that goes into every game. And I'm just not sure that other than the diehards right now, people really recognize that. Yeah. The second important thing is it's great, family entertainment, and you're exactly right. I mean, when you think about going to an NFL game or any major league, game for that matter, the costs are pretty exorbitant. I mean, if you go to a Niners game, I can imagine, good tickets running in the hundreds of dollars. So by the time that and plus it involves, kind of a pilgrimage, right? You take the car to the bus to, then you walk a while, and usually it's an all-day experience that if you have a family of 4 or 5 can end up running you a couple of $1,000s, and you'll spend a lot of time doing it. Whereas our games, hopefully are more what I'll call user-friendly. You come into an arena, it's weather-controlled, you can park in a garage, or we try and keep our games around, 2.5 hours or less, and we try and make them as entertaining as possible at value. So for a couple of $100, you can come to an arena football game, sit in the front row, see the hitting, as close as you'd ever see it, get great food, great entertainment, during the timeouts, and, have an experience that isn't going to cost you your whole day. So we just have to get more people to understand that and recognize that. And I think now that we've gone through a bit of a restructuring, and this year we'll be focused on growth, those are the types of things that we want to make better known.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, and just not to be too much as far as comparing the NFL to the AFL, but I look at it as an opportunity for you to be right there with the players. I mean, they're close enough to where in certain situations you can give them a high five, and when you're in an NFL stadium, all the players are larger than life. It's a big money situation, and you don't have that connection. And I mean, you're lucky if you could, with your binoculars, if you could see these players. So the Arena Football League is completely different. It's like very interactive. Usually every team has a barbecue for season ticket holders during the year, to where you can literally meet up close and personal these players. And yes, they want to have the dream, but at the same time, they're playing for the love of the game. They're not playing for this big, huge $1 million contract. They're playing for the love of the game, and I think that's the difference.
No, I think you're exactly right. The fan interaction is second to none, both during and around the game. So after the games, fans get to walk on the field and meet the players. A lot of times, like you mentioned, we have other events before the games or at separate times where you could meet people or go to training camps, and we try and be as user-friendly as possible. Also, when you view our games, on TV or over the internet, we have cameras that are, either in a quarterback's helmet or sound in a quarterback's helmet, and we're trying to, bring that in-game experience to the fans, both in audio and video, so that they can feel like they're part of the action. But there is nothing like sitting on that front row, and you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're not careful, you can get a hit or two along the way as well. And one of the things that people get a real treat out of what we do is, if an actual game ball goes into the stands, we allow the fans to keep those balls, so they don't have to get chased down by some security guard, as you see in an NFL game. They happen. I remember watching NFL games, the kicker will kick a ball and it'll miss the net and go into the stands, and then you see it's almost like the Great Escape. The kid's running up the stairs and ducking to his left, and trying to get away from the security guards, and then they finally get him, and he's got to surrender the ball. Well, we don't put our fans through that. We'd rather than just get the ball and spend their time going up the stairs to get a hot dog and a Coke, or if you're an adult, a beer or something. But I think that's a big plus that we bring. It's just that interaction.
Yeah, and with that said, we want to talk about the interaction of what's been going on lately with the league. Of course, people know that before the schedule came out for this year, that the SaberCats withdrew from their league. Do you have anything about that you want to add?
Well, no. I mean, obviously we're going through a transition, and we had a lot of teams that were very prominent and important in the league over time, and those are ownership decisions. But we're making changes in the league. We're going to run the league very differently than it had been run, and that's going to require resources, both financial and operationally. And and I think when you look at the teams that make the most sense for the league going forward, they're going to be teams that have a relationship with an arena. So obviously, if you own an arena or you control an arena, that usually makes the economics a lot better for for our teams. And that unfortunately was not the case with the SaberCats. But then secondly, obviously the financial wherewithal. But the other thing is, what is the profile of your organization? So, for example, in Cleveland and Tampa, where our teams are part of organizations that have multiple teams, there are synergies in that. So if you have one sales force that can handle ticketing for 3 teams as opposed to 1, and one administrative staff that can handle 3 teams as opposed to 1, again, the economics work much better. So I just think, I think the SaberCats were a tremendous team. I think the Fry family, I've got nothing but the highest regard for them. They've been very successful in all of their businesses, both in the grocery business and certainly in the electronics business. It was just a matter of, I think for them, where, they'd accomplished a lot and they were ready to, move on. I will tell you, we like the city of San Jose a great deal, and spent some time trying to see if we could find a buyer for that team. But even though we hadn't, we still want to return to that market. So we are exploring ways to get back into the Bay Area market as we speak.
Yeah, and back in the before the league folded temporarily, we'd have 12,000, 13,000 per game, which is a pretty good turnout. And of course, once the league started all over and the SaberCats were out the first year, coming back, we lost a lot of the fan base and the sponsorships and all that kind of stuff. So, and I understand, because going from the 80s to just a couple of years ago when it folded, it takes time to develop the sponsorships, to bring the people in. And Eric and I were actually at an LA game last year, and everybody we talked to around us, that was their first game. And, usually it's a free ticket somebody gives them, they can't use, whatever the case be. Well, the people that were sitting next to Eric and I, we actually got them so hyped up that they actually became season ticket holders this year.
They blame us for falling in love with the league.
Yeah.
So now they're sitting behind the two team benches and the Honda Center, like 3 or 4 rows behind the benches for their season tickets this year.
So it's exposure.
Wow.
It's exposure, and once people have an opportunity to get into those games, they realize, you know what, you get so much more from this than a typical NFL game. So it's just a matter of getting the word out, getting people exposed, having them experience that, and then they're going to fall in love with the game.
Yeah, and just to move on really quick, because I know we're like limited on time. We got like maybe 5 or 6 minutes left, but we want to know what's the situation with Portland. I know Portland Thunder.
Yeah.
The Thunder name is with Emirates, and then there's no name for the franchise. Possibly going back to maybe the Portland Forest Dragons to help rekindle the fan base there at Portland's ninth man.
Well, we have spent a lot of time on Portland, and I am extremely excited about what's going on there. We are going to have a new name. I just actually approved most of the design and the artwork in the last week. I think it's very exciting. It is something, I will say, it's something new and fresh, but I think very representative of the Portland fan base and something that we hope they rally around, and I'm certain they will. We've done a lot of studies up there to see what type of a name and logo and theme would work, and I think we have something that's going to be a big hit, and we're putting a lot of resources behind that team. We love that market. I get a lot of respect for the Portland Trailblazers and their organization, and the ability to share an arena with them and hopefully work with them is something that's exciting for us. So I think that the changes that we've made in Portland are really representative of what we're doing now in the AFL, and I think the fans are going to have a tremendous experience. So I really thank Terry Emmert and bringing football to Portland, and he did a great job getting that foundation laid, and now we're going to take that to the next level, and I think it's going to be a really, really exciting place to go see a game. And for that matter, what I'll say is, as we've kind of gone through this transition, obviously we're into quality, not quantity. So people ask me about the number of teams and what's going on and, what the goal is. And certainly we want to add teams and hope to have, at least, 2 to 4 new teams in the 17th season, if not better. We're having many more discussions with that. But I'm much more concerned about the quality of ownership and the market than I am, just numbers. And I think in the past with the Arena Football League, it was kind of the opposite. I think management added a lot of teams. There wasn't a lot of due diligence. We had teams that really didn't have expertise or financial capabilities. And then you see a team come in and they're virtually bankrupt months after starting. I mean, that's just something that should never happen. So we're not focused on numbers. We're focused on quality. And, I think that when you see the teams that play this year, you're going to see outstanding football, because now we have 8 teams, and, obviously we've got a lot of players dying to get on those teams. So there shouldn't be any, holes in anybody's lineup this year for sure. Yeah. But also just the quality of the overall experience. We're really focused on people who know how to put on a game and put on it right, and make sure that fans, get what they pay for. And I think that anyone who attends the game this year is going to have a much different experience and is going to be really rewarded for sticking by the AFL.
Yeah, is there talking about quality and maybe moving on to expansion? We've already know that there's like a release with the Washington Post, like Monumental Sports and Entertainment, who own the 3 teams there in D.C., are thinking about moving an AFL team in the Verizon Center. Now, is there any words on any recap of bringing an AFL back to San Antonio? Anything about San Antonio coming back with the Spurs or anybody out there?
I can't comment on any particular market other than to say we're in very active discussions with anybody who fits the profile that I mentioned, and certainly NHL and NBA, owners would fit that profile well. So, that's really our, that's our sweet spot. Those are our target customers. We are looking to expand into Mexico and Latin America, this year. So I think you'll see us with coverage, network coverage, catering to the Hispanic market. And we hope to have some teams in Mexico in the upcoming years.
and we're in those discussions as well. But I think that when you look at who our target ownership is, it certainly would fit those types of teams.
Yeah, so does that mean with the Mexico market, does that mean that is that confirming that Univision will be come on and maybe doing some Spanish broadcasting for this year and then moving on to the ownership?
Again, not going to comment on any particular names other than to say it's a very, very prominent, network that caters to the Latin American, Hispanic, and Spanish market. So, I think you're on the right track. But that's again a very exciting opportunity for us. I think it opens us up to a brand new market. I think that football in Mexico is coming on strong. You might have seen the NFL announce that they're going to have a game in Mexico City this year, which is a target market of ours. And we can be the go-to, professional football league in Mexico, and that's really what we're looking to be.
Okay, first for any sponsorship deals, I know you've announced like New Era is one of the sponsors for the sideline caps for the teams out there. Anything about like jerseys or anything, or we continue with Russell Athletic, or maybe bringing on New Era? New Era, but Under Armour?
New Era is providing our caps this year. We're really excited about that. They are by far the leader, both in terms of design, style, and quality in the athletic headwear industry. So, very excited about New Era. And our uniforms will be now supplied by Under Armour, which we also view as a leader in design, but also technology. And we hope to do things with Under Armour technology-wise that again help the fan experience, help us learn more about the game, and more about our players, and hopefully help our players with regard to safety and health as well. So, two very exciting relationships. We'll have more to announce. We are working with a group called Property Consulting Group on all our sponsorships, and we have numerous conversations going on right now, and hopefully more to come on that front.
So cool. And talking about safety with the players, are you still going to be continuing those sensors on the helmets that detect probably for concussion?
We're going to be announcing some new procedures with regard to concussions and concussion protocol that we think are state of the art. And when our operations people are ready to make those announcements, I think they're just finishing touches on, and I think there's going to be some trial and error during our preseason, and we'll have something to announce. But it has certainly been a big focus of ours or any other football league for that matter. And, we feel very good about where we're heading with that.
And, wouldn't it be great if we could have a situation to where the Arena Football League activates some kind of safety measure that the NFL eventually takes over? Because, with the AFL, they might not have all of the red tape and all of the, having such a big situation. So it's almost like an avenue for experimental technologies that turn out to be mainstream later on.
Yeah, and I think that's actually true of a lot of things. Obviously player safety being very important, but whether it's technology and uniforms, or the way we cover games, or audio, or all of those things, I think we can certainly we are a lot more flexible than other leagues, and both in terms of what we do with our game and what we do with our fans, and if we can do some things that are innovative, that are adopted by other leagues, I think that would be, obviously great for us and great for them. So that is one of our, stated goals, is to be able to do those kind of things.
Yeah, so it's good to hear. Good to hear. Now, Tom and I, we are having plans to go down to Anaheim for the April 2nd game. I guess now it's going to be on ESPN.
Yes.
It's the schedule, Jacksonville Sharks versus the LA Kids. We're going to be down there because we have a lot of our friends that are down there, and also we know Brian Fox is like the LA's ninth man ambassador down there from his days back with the Avengers at the Staples Center. So we're planning to go down there and continue our exposure, because Tom and I, we're diehards. We support the league, even though we don't have our own local team here, probably for them every couple of years or so, whatever. But we're looking forward to this 2016 season, and we're looking for some great football action this whole year.
Well, you're going to see it, and that's going to be one hell of a game to be at. Kiss is going to do a performance before the game, which will be really exciting, and I think it's going to be a great start to our season. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Yeah,
well, we want to thank you personally, Scott, for joining us, taking time out on this Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely.
I know you're busy trying to still establish some things for and get ready for the league.
The league's right. The season's right around the corner, so I bet you're pretty pretty busy right now.
Yeah, no, we're busy, but I wouldn't be too busy. I wish I was up there joining you for a beer and some crab up there. Look,
Hey,
Yes.
you're welcome to come to San Jose anytime. And
next time we'll plan.
5 minutes from the arena, 5-minute drive.
5 minutes from the arena. I mean, like 10 minutes away from the airport here. It's like we're
All
good.
right, well, it's on the list, guys. So
All right, we'll
next
take you up on that offer.
Next time we'll do it up there.
All
All
right.
right, we'll talk to you
All
later,
right.
Scott. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you very much. You bet.
Thank
too.
you.
Welcome back to the Nation Podcast. Our second part. Today we have a quarterback of the Chicago Rush and SaberCats, Russ Michna.
Glad to be here.
We want to thank you for coming to Blue Water. Pretty soon you're going to be enjoying a nice little seafood delight. I'm sure we'll get you after the show.
Sounds good.
So we go. Tom's back here.
Hello.
So basically, we're going to have a conversation with Russ to share about his experiences with arena football. Of course, everybody knows if you're a fan of the league that he started before the so-called split in 2009. That he played for the Chicago Rush, and so we're going to talk about him first joining the league and his experience there with both the organization Chicago under both ownerships it had, or multiple ownerships it had, and then also mainly importantly about his experiences with that he had with Chicago's ninth man and over there in Rosemont, Illinois at the Allstate Arena. And so I'm going to welcome you. So go ahead and start off on how you had your conversation there.
So I enjoyed being in Chicago. I had a great time. That was my hometown. I got to live right at home, essentially. I was back. I always tell this story that I never thought I would be back in Schaumburg, Illinois. And when I started with the Rush, our team housing was less than a mile from my high school. So I literally ended up right back at home, unbelievably. But I had a great experience there. I came in the year after they had won the Arena Bowl, and the organization was in a high point, and we were moving forward, and we had a lot of talent, and had great fan support. That was one of the most intriguing things about the arena football game to me, was how much fun people had, not only playing it, as spectators, being a part of it. It was just a really enjoyable experience.
And also, just adding to that, you playing in the outside open field, how disconnected you might feel from the fans. Whereas you go into a small arena where the walls never give, and you have...
That's true, isn't it? The ground doesn't give either. That's the bad part.
And in certain situations, often, the players are really falling into the laps of the fans.
Yeah, it was a fun. I mean, like I said, I don't think I ever saw an arena game before I got involved with the Rush, and the experience. It's exhilarating. It really is. I fell in love with it. I enjoyed being around it, and obviously kept on playing for probably way too long, or at least a lot longer than my body appreciated me playing for.
Yeah, talk to Brett Favre. I think you guys have something in common.
Yeah, there you go.
He's got a lot longer, way too long for him. But so the transition from the Chicago Rush, and then the overall experience of it, and then the Rush, being a non-existent team because of what happened at the end of the 2008 season. So what was your experience like with the downturn? What did you have to do for the downturn? This may prepare for other arena football players league-wide, to prepare themselves for the afterlife of the arena football career, however it may come.
Right. So it was kind of interesting. I would love to call it foresight, but I think it was really just dumb luck.
Yeah.
In that fall of 2008, I went and got myself a full-time position. I started working for a small private company in the area, doing operations and financial management, accounting type work. Fun back office stuff that everyone really enjoys. More so just because I wanted to continue to grow professionally and realized that I wasn't going to be able to play football forever, and needed to begin to develop other avenues for myself. And then when the league disappeared in 2009, it was like I said, it was luck. It was dumb luck that I had another career started and was moving forward with that. But like I was saying before, that the exhilaration, the passion, the excitement that arena football brought is I couldn't help but go back and play
It's a
when it came
adrenaline.
back. Yeah,
It's like
it
a
is.
drug.
It really is. It really is. And I was lucky enough that the organization I was with allowed me to do both and carry on as a professional in that sense as well as on the football field.
Yeah, and that's also, I know I said originally when he was on his downturn for the league and not playing, that he had to go and get a career outside of football. Not only does this affect the arena football players, but this affects any professional football, whether you're in the NFL or even the CFL, because your body can only last so long in such a physically demanding environment and sport that you have to make ways for you afterwards. Yeah, you're more, as far as for the CFL and NFL, you're a little bit more financially stable depending on how you manage your money. There's reports that a lot of the athletes go broke right afterwards, and whatever, may have issues afterwards, but it can help you with this and to have a profession afterwards. And a lot of people do go back to school to continue their education, sometimes during the the off seasons or whatever. So with that said, now that you've found your sort of like a profession that you're pretty well aimed in, and targeted in, with the downturn, and then the league comes back. You came back with the Chicago organization again, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I played, was it 3 seasons? Or was it 2? 10, 11, 12, right?
Yeah, I think the last season they played was 2013, because I remember
Yeah.
the league
Correct.
took over the team and they played a playoff game in Spokane.
Right. So, yeah,
With
I was there 10,
McMillan.
11, 12,
Yeah,
and then
McMillan was your
13 was
coach.
the first year I was here
Yeah.
in San Jose.
So how was your experience, transitioning? Well, how was the fan when the league came back? How was the fan base, and what was their thoughts of the league and all that stuff, and the support?
It was tough there because the organization lacked leadership. We had a few owners involved. We had an ownership group that wasn't really committed to the team, as you saw, right?
Yeah.
All the struggles they had and all the issues they went through, and I think that trickled through to the fan base. Going into the restructuring, the fan base in Chicago was amazing and completely involved and really in love, really passionate about the game. And then coming back, we just never got that same following. We never were able to tap the market, so to speak, in the same way. And I think that really comes down to the people who were in charge. The leadership,
Yeah.
the ownership of the organization just wasn't nearly as committed and nearly as involved with the community or promoting the team.
Yeah,
And even in San Jose, we saw before the before the league folded, there was, it was twice as many fan support.
Yeah.
The sponsors were there. Even the halftime shows were better, right?
Right.
So it just felt like the energy was up. The pay scale was up, and it was a lot. It was almost like a training facility to lead up to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a couple of poster children. The Kurt Warners.
Right.
And
Right.
but when we came back, it's just like, even here, it just didn't seem like you're only packing a portion of what you had before.
And I think, it's hard to speak to that because I think the biggest difference in the pre-restructuring and the post-restructuring was the continuity. Guys played for multiple years at the same organization. They were, like you were saying, making a good living, and the game was just much more developed then. And that's so hard for me to say because since the league has come back, I've played with guys that are unbelievably talented, and probably more so than the talent level prior to that. But the difference was just that development, that time, that
camaraderie.
Yeah, the camaraderie, but also the ability to spend multiple years learning the game, being around the same organization, the same people. Prior to that, it was a full-time. I don't want to say full. It was a real professional setting where guys were working out year-round, preparing for it, preparing for the season, and
They had stability.
stability. Right, that's actually the perfect word for it.
And I think
right?
that has to do with when the league came back. They went to a single entity league, sort of, I guess, following MLS's suit, the Major League Soccer suit. They're like single entity. So the league business model, they went to single entity. So their pay scale went completely down, which probably hurt. The enthusiasm of the players wanting to participate in the league and get those same so-called all-star players that were prior to the breakdown to come back and join. They're going to say, I'm making X amount of dollars now why would I come back and make only like $600 to start with, a week with the $50 win bonus, and of course every year it sort of went up a little bit inch by inch. So that's one often thing, and so the single entity league may need to change in this league in order to really to fully blossom like that Butera wants it to. Let the individual teams, if like he said, he wants to have financial stability with the ownerships, which is one thing, but also to have them be responsible for their own budget, and not have to worry about signing and saying Russ Michna has been assigned to San Jose or to somewhere else, and then only get paid, the same as everybody else. And when San Jose is one of the more expensive places to, live, yeah, he may get, a housing sponsor through the team sponsors, but there's other costs of living, out here that are demanded out here. And that could hurt a lot of players on the reason why they signed with the Team X or whatever.
Yeah, I think, and you're right, in the model, in the single entity format, turned to a little bit more of a situation where guys played closer to home in most settings, right?
Yeah.
And because it was convenient, it was accessible, it was that kind of thing. I think we could sit here and debate the business model forever.
Yeah.
The reality is it is what it is right now, right? And the situation is what it is. Hopefully, Commissioner Butera can. I know he has some thoughts and a vision of where he wants to take the league, and I hope he is able to achieve those things, because it would be a shame. Well, it's really discouraging and frustrating to see the continued loss of commitment, of interest that continues to happen. Yeah,
he already talked about expansion into the Mexican market, and having the teams, and yet he wouldn't, as we discussed earlier in the show, that he's sort of not confirmed but yet confirmed about Univision playing a part, whether it be media-wise or whether it be ownership-wise. The rumor mill is that Univision was supposed to come in as like a broadcast partner for this season as to warm up to the 2017 season, where they would be as part of the agreement to own 3 teams in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And Mexico City, as Butera sort of released, because the Raiders, I think, are scheduled to play down there for the NFL to test that market. And Butera wants to see that AFL is like the leadership in leading the way of professional American football, not football is for soccer or whatever, but American football down there. So what do you think about going overseas besides, possible, passport issues that might
I was going to say there's tons of logistical issues, right, is my initial thought. Whether it be, like you're saying, players' rights or accessibility. It's the cost of getting there and doing those things. But the reality is it's a growing market, right? And it's the world is changing. We're becoming a global society in every way, shape, and form. So there's obviously opportunities. These emerging markets could bring on a great opportunity for the league. It would be interesting to see how many guys from the States would be interested in going and playing in Mexico, and what that avenue would end up looking like. But, to me, I think any kind of growth plan, any kind of development at this point is needed and would be hopefully well received by all the players.
And, the argument also stands, why start with international markets when we're still trying to figure out what we're doing here in the States? So it's like, maybe the NFL, that foundation that they have, the structure they have, the power that they have, it makes sense for them to maybe try Mexico or maybe even Canada. But for us, as an arena football league, we're struggling just to get more than 18. So is it the right time?
I think it's interesting, though, because you're talking about the media aspect as well, right? You're talking about the awareness, if it truly is Univision that's interested in getting involved, that opens up the game to a lot of markets. And it provides a media partner that the league has struggled to find. I think back to the early days that I was a part of the league. We were regularly broadcasting, nationally and nationally and locally. And now I understand it's a changing world. There's no doubt about it. And streaming may be the wave of the future. Is the wave of the future, let's say. But you still have to have a partner that's truly committed to that.
Yes. Yeah, and I think the live streaming, what we could handle is actually teams could live stream their games, from the arena feed and feed it into the live stream onto YouTube. Use their YouTube channel because that's a free medium right there, where you can broadcast your games on YouTube. Instead of ESPN3 is one thing, but not ESPN still uses old school technology to stream. They use shockwave players still. And YouTube uses HTML5, which is more susceptible to not just watching it on your web browser on your computer, but you can watch it on your tablet, on your iPhone, and even on TV station, smart TVs now, and your streaming media devices like Apple TV, Roku 4, and Amazon Fire TV, which now do 4K Ultra HD. And so I think the teams can utilize that as a way to freely broadcast the games for free on their YouTube channels. And that's another way to interact because people could watch the game and then they could leave comments on the game, and it's a way to show interaction with the team and in the game itself. So that could be something that Butera, we could bring up to Butera on that, utilizing that, in association maybe with ESPN, watch ESPN app. So now we want to go. We've talked about the downturn of the league, and you're coming back with the new owners of the league or of the Rush and the single entity. I think. How was your transition from moving from the windy city to the nice warm city that is San Jose and playing for the SaberCats?
Yeah. Well, I'm never going back to Chicago. I can tell you that much.
So we got him.
Yeah.
All right.
So this.
We hooked them.
First thing that happened was I came out in the middle of the drought, right? So it's 75 and sunny literally every day of the year, and I couldn't believe that I had been suffering through those Chicago winters when there was an opportunity to be living here.
And it's not, and like you say, it's not an Arizona situation.
It was amazing. I was blown away. And then we had a little bit of a reality check this winter when I think we came back to what the normal winter looks like here in the area with a little bit of rain and that kind of thing. But as a whole, the transition was interesting. It happened quickly. I hadn't planned on playing going into the 2013 season, and then, sometimes life changes, and it did in my transition out to San Jose, and I haven't looked back yet. I'm very excited about it. My only frustration is, like we were talking about before we went on the air here, is that I really I struggled to stay healthy. And the first year we came in mid-season and kind of got we're getting our feet wet. And I feel like by the end of the year we were really starting to play good football. And then going into the second season, the first week we come out and things went well for that first half. And then it took a little bit of a downturn, it's just frustrating, as an athlete, as a competitor, as anyone being involved in sports, right? When you're not able to perform and you're not able to reach your top level, it's really one of those things that kind of eats at you.
And you bring up an interesting point too, as far as injuries. Being a part of the Arena League, where everything is half the size. My guess is those defenders who would love to put you on the ground and put you on the ground hard to stop the play, they're a lot closer to you.
Yeah.
You don't have the room to run on an open field like you would in the NFL. So would you say that the body in Arena Football League is susceptible to injury that much more than on the outdoor field? Because every week you're playing on the hard surface.
The surface is the surface would be the only reason I would even consider agreeing with that statement. You walk on a lot of these fields and you're talking about carpet laid on top of concrete, and that's what you're getting driven into, right? At least in the grass, there's some earth, there's some give, there's some softness there, right? And the field turf is, the current version of that, the outdoor turf, the field turf has a lot more give as well. But as a whole, football's a violent game. Let's be honest. Look at all the concussions we had recorded this year alone.
Yes.
And the scary thing to me is how big and fast and strong the athletes have gotten. I think that's really the I think it's going to be the biggest issue for the NFL going forward, and I think it's going to be really could bring some detriment to the game, because guys spend their entire life preparing and training, whereas that wasn't the case 20 years ago. We've evolved as athletes, and I think that's where you see these injuries. And you look at some of these D linemen; they're scary. How big and strong and fast they are. It just didn't exist years ago, right? And you aren't gonna. I can't sit here and truly say to you that I think there's more injuries or there's more possibility or likelihood of injury in the Arena League. I just think it's truly the natural evolution of the game and of the athlete more so than anything.
Yeah, and Butera brought up about what some of the safety measures he's bringing. Because I sort of asked him about how it was. I think it was like 2 years ago, prior to him, like towards the end of Jerry Kers's stay, that he brought the sponsors with the little sensor on the back of the helmet. To where I know when one game I went to the SaberCats I think you were playing SaberCats at the Rattler game, and I noticed, I think it was Antoine Hawthorne's helmet had from it, there's like a green LED light on the sensor, means you're okay to play. But once that light turns red, you're supposed to, by league mandate, come out for whatever length of time, so that we can get the concussion protocols done and studied. And of course, for whatever reason, I don't think the officiating crew saw that or whatever, and a lot of fans were, even the Rattler fans were saying, hey, he's got a red light on, Do you think that's some of the measures that's a pretty good thing to stay? That's the testing. NFL doesn't have it, college doesn't have it. Maybe even going down to the high school ranks don't have it yet. And that's where you can start there. You think that's a good starting?
I think anything is a good step, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I tripped a couple of those concussion monitors in my day in the last couple of years, but the thing about concussions is we don't have the science yet. We really truly don't understand it. And the NFL is dealing with that now. It's come to light in the media very recently. And I think that, we can talk about every safety measure we can, but the reality is we don't know. Number one, we don't know how to prevent them. Number two, we truly don't know what the proper protection is. And until that happens, you can take all the safety measures in the world, but the reality is I don't think you're going to truly move that curve too extreme.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, we had James Hunden on the show, and I was asking him, going from the outdoor game to the indoor game, what kind of adjustments as a receiver, in a smaller environment. So the question I have for you, Russ, is I've heard that it maybe takes a couple of seasons for the game to slow down enough in the Arena Football League for you to be effective. You could be, awesome out on the, in the NFL, and then you go to a small, and just for one reason or another, it's a different mindset, different game. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, any game, right? There's nuances to anything you do, right? And there's a learned skill, there's a learned pattern for success, right? And I think we're kind of going back to the conversation we had with the difference in the continuity from the league prior to the restructuring and post-restructuring is guys haven't really had that time to necessarily develop that skill, develop that comfort, that understanding of the nuances of the game. And there's no doubt there's a ton of them. And like you're saying, you see a lot of guys that had amazing college careers and even had decent NFL careers that come to the Arena Football League, and the game's just not right for them. They just aren't a good fit for whatever reason.
We limit to ourselves to saying how the players have to make a faster adjustment going from the outdoor game to the indoor game. Basically, all the players who played come from the outdoor game because the NCAA is outdoor.
Right.
I know there's been I've even gotten emails and private messages on Facebook saying, this organization wants to start an NCAA sanctioned Arena Football League. So like the colleges will have an arena team. A lot of the college arenas are basically sometimes even better than the NBA arenas out there, NHL arenas, but some of them are not fully designed to be formatted into the ice hockey rink.
That's interesting.
So, but that was just all talk. I don't know how they feel now, especially with the single entity and the way the league's been promoting itself and cutting down to 8 teams. But I think all players eventually have to, sort of, say, okay, I was Joe Smo, in the outdoor game playing, at Notre Dame, like Rick Meyer, or I was, like Tim Tebow out of Florida, and now I'm coming down, trying to play in the arena football game. It's like, whoa, this thing is like fast. So they have to make their adjustments just coming from college to go into arena football, whether they step into the NFL or not. So there's always some kind of adjustments, for this game, since there's no really training ground, which is one good thing before the downturn, that they did have a training ground with the AF2, which could have been a topic that we could have brought up with Butera today, whether that could be coming back, because there has been floating boards out there that some kind of development, will it be called AF2 or not, but some kind of AFL, maybe D League or whatever, for players to, fine tune themselves when they first come out of college or come from the NFL or whatever, to develop so. But, you had your time to transition, and you made it from WIU, which is Western Illinois, where you went to and played ball. So you had your time with all your time with the Chicago Rush and the SaberCats. What's one thing that you think that really brought to light to your experience with the AFL as compared to from developing from the outdoor game? Or
that's interesting. I'm not sure I've really spent much time thinking about that. But at that, in that developmental time, that's kind of the mode I was in, right? Because you left the college game, spent a year in the NFL, spent 2 years in Canada, and then you came to the Arena League. And like I was kind of saying, is each one has its own nuances. There's learned activities, there's learned comfort levels that occur that are different in each setting. And I think, for me, the best thing that could have happened was going through that transition, because it sped up the learning curve, right? You realize you start getting a different mindset, not a different mindset, a different outlook, right? You realize that there is more conceptually than that game you played in college. And so you understand that in order to be successful and to stay, you're going to have to understand the game you're in. And you're going to have to develop those skills or those that understanding much quicker than or relatively quickly, let's say, in order to stay and be productive.
And would you say that the plays that you would call in the Arena League, they're a lot different than the plays in the outdoor?
Yes and no. I mean, so that it's still football, right? There's the concepts are still there, right?
X's and O's.
Exactly. What you're trying to accomplish, the game doesn't change. It's just a matter of how you do it, right? Or the big field read would be a little more spread out, whereas in here it happens a little quicker, or you have to make that decision. You have to be a little more accurate. There's some nuances. The word that I keep on using, going back to, that just come into play, And there are some plays that are completely different, and the concept is like nothing you've ever heard before. And then there's others that it's just like, oh yeah, I remember doing something just like that, right? So it's football, right? And it's just a different style, right? And that was kind of the most intriguing part about the game to me, is I enjoyed that part. I enjoy the strategy, the development of the week-to-week game plan, and going out and determining how you're going to attack your opponent that week, and that's the most intriguing thing about football to me is that side of it, right? The preparation and all the work leading up to the game.
And it's interesting you say that, because you got the 2-minute warning in the NFL, you got the 1-minute warning in AFL, but a lot can happen in the AFL during that 1 minute. You can have 3 or 4 scores, so the possession can change and the league can change so much. And coming from being a fan of the NFL going to AFL, I thought that was just really exciting and interesting, because literally down to like the last few seconds, you could either win the game or lose the game.
Absolutely, and I agree, and that's we're going back to those nuances, right? That are so fun, right? But that's what it is, right? And like we talk about, like I was sucked in from day one. I'll admit it, and a lot for that. A lot of the same concepts you're talking about that you enjoyed as a fan are what get players interested in too. You know, the fact that you have to stay on your game for the entire game, every last second, like you're saying. I've seen plenty of games that have been given away or lost or destroyed.
Right.
In those last couple seconds. Actually, I remember one here when we came to San Jose that we gave a game, when I was in Chicago, gave a game back to you guys in the closing minutes.
Yeah, right. We don't.
You know what? We love to hate you. We hate to love you.
Well,
when you were in Chicago.
When you were wearing that blue. Yeah.
Because other than Arizona, Chicago was it was always a smash game. I mean, it was
thorn
a
in our side.
game.
It was good teams, right? It was well-coached teams that had guys that understood the game and were prideful. And it was a lot of fun, you know. And that's why you play the game, is for those competitive moments, right? That's what you enjoy.
That's why when you're a kid, you go out and play football, because whether it starts out as flag football or powder puff or two-hand touch, whatever, you playing it because you love the game. It's fun. It's a fun activity. Now, what you said you transitioned from going from the college ranks and you played your stint in the NFL outdoor game. Then you went to CFL. I think the one relationship that I think might have benefited you is coming from the CFL to the AFL, and that time period in that way is that the CFL has one thing in common with the AFL. They have the high motion guy.
Yeah.
Even though they have 12 players on the field, so now the fans are the 13th man. In a 110-yard field.
Okay.
But I think that also helped you with as sort of like a training coach now, because NFL everybody has to be still at the line. High motion man, you have to learn when he's going to be right at the line before maybe a half a yard giveaway for offsides, maybe depending on the officials.
It depends on who's in charge of the game, right? Exactly.
Yeah, so and with the
you're
NFL,
not going to be able to see that with the helmet. There's limited visibility on the side. It's like
the Canadian game was different too because you were in the shotgun, right?
Yeah.
So you actually had better visibility. The arena was that's a new feel for any quarterback. Every year we go into training camp and guys, their first time in the game it's interesting to see how uncomfortable they are, right? And then you kind of slowly see the progression happen, and they start to get their feet underneath them. The Canadian game is interesting because it like you're saying, it's much less structured than the NFL game, where the NFL game is very much on precision and being at the right place in the right time, and I don't want to say being robotic, but to a certain extent, you have expectations of what you're doing and how you're going to achieve that. The Canadian game is somewhere different. It's much more. It's like freaking rolling out the balls in a prairie somewhere. The field's so darn big. There's so much space. It's more like, all right, so this is kind of the vicinity we expect you to be in, so that's where you get to. And then you come back to the Arena League, and you kind of throw those two together in a small way, shape, or form, because there's a couple of routes that are, like you said, very, very intricate and very detail-oriented, and there's some other ones where it's like, all right, now you just got to be a football player and go out there and play. So it's really a nice mix of the two.
Yeah, and with your history, going back to your history with the Chicago Rush, not to sort of, ban some of the guys that you target as your wide receiver or your tight ends or anybody out there, but who was your favorite target to throw to while in the Windy City?
Oh, wow.
Jeez. I'm trying to even remember some of the wide receivers out there.
Bobby Scipio was obviously the one that sticks out in my head.
Yeah.
He was... Sip was awesome. He really was. He was really, really talented. The best part about him was that he had a great understanding of the game. I remember my first year in training camp with him, man, you talk about being held accountable. Sip would run a route, and if he would know where the ball was supposed to go before I did.
Wow.
And he was running his route pointing, telling me to take care of it, I got really lucky in that I had some great people to learn from. My first year in Chicago, it was Matt Durazio was the starter.
Yeah, I remember him.
Brett Dietz came to training camp with us. So the three of us were there, and that was it was a great group of guys to really learn the game from.
Yeah, you're throwing back some great names that I couldn't remember just off the top of my name.
Right.
I could remember like Scipio,
Oh, yes.
He would kill us with some of those hand catches because he's so tall
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you'll
Big,
think,
strong.
okay, Michna just threw it incomplete. Like, what? No,
Yeah.
it's a touchdown
Yeah.
from Michna because it was way up there, and
Yeah.
Scipio would grab it.
Big, strong, athletic. I mean, he was awesome. And like I said, understood the game, and that's the the nuances, the development that I think the current league is just struggling with a little bit.
AFL Hall of Fame need to get a hold of Scipio. I think Scipio needs to be in there.
He belongs there.
Yeah, he belongs there. Now, with that said, of your target in Chicago coming to San Jose, who do you think your favorite target is in San Jose?
Oh boy.
Uh-oh. You nailed him on this one. And he's talking a couple of San Jose Knights.
Well, yeah, that's
suddenly get our
hard.
attention right here.
That's hard, because I mean, Ben was a joy to play with, but Ben was in the same boat as I was, where he didn't spend much time healthy in my time here. I really appreciated being around Jason Willis. He was one of the hardest working guys that I've ever been around. I respect the hell out of him and really enjoyed playing with him. And Reggie Gray is one of those guys that, I kind of, he'd probably be really upset with me if I said he wasn't my favorite, and that's because,
Chicago ties?
well, I mean, Reggie came to Western Illinois with me. I don't know if you know that. He was, I met Reggie when he was a baby, and I mean...
Don't age yourself.
I mean, literally, I'm not joking. He was a freshman when I was I think he was a senior. It might have been my junior year. I think he had 2 years with me then. Yeah. So, but I mean, at that point, he was a true freshman, and I was a fourth-year senior. So, I mean, he was 18, I was 23, and I've known him. Maybe he might have been 17, and he looked like he was 12. I mean, he still looks like he's 16, right?
Young. He's young.
He has some genes, young genes.
Yeah.
But he's another guy that it's really been awesome to see the growth and the maturation of Reggie. He got cut from multiple arena teams before he found a home with us in Chicago, and I'll still never. He would hate me for telling these stories, but I mean, there would be days that I would just be riding him about a bunch of things, and just because to me it wasn't clicking fast enough for him, and I knew how great he could be.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget, we had J.J. McKelvey come into Chicago one time. I think you probably remember him from the Arizona days, right?
Yeah.
And some of the things that I had been harassing Reggie to learn to do, he got to see JJ do, and then the light bulb just went off.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, he became that force that he turned into, that he was almost uncoverable. You watch a lot of the stuff he does, it's awesome. It really is. And like you said, it's the nuances. It's the understanding of what you're trying to accomplish, when you're trying to accomplish it, and why. And it's been really... Just thinking back, I'm having a fatherly moment right now. Just thinking
Reggie,
back,
you need to call your dad.
It's been awesome watching what he's done. I'm so proud of him. He's accomplished so much, and it's been really cool to be a part of it with him.
And he's humble. I mean, from our perspective, we've met him in person and everything. A couple of months after the Super Bowl or Arena Bowl, we met him, over at the event. We were actually watching, literally watching with players and coaches the arena game that they just won. So he was very humble. So we got to meet him that way, and it seems like he could be limping. And once you say hike, he goes into full stride, and it's like he's a different person.
Yeah, he was having hip issues during the Arena Bowl game, but he wanted to play.
Yeah.
He wanted to get that ring for himself, and we Tom and I have recently seen the design of the Arena Bowl rings for the SaberCats coming up this year. So it's good that he got his ring that he deserved, and with a storied franchise, just that's terrible on how it ended.
Yeah. It is.
So we hopefully that he said he retires, but let's see. I mean, hopefully some team will be fortunate to pick him up.
I know. Let's see if he gets that itch, right?
Yeah.
I said I retired at one point too. It didn't work out that well for me.
Yeah.
I specifically asked him, and I don't know if he wants me to say this, but he says he has another 2 or 3.
Oh, he told me that too.
Yeah,
a couple more years.
He can definitely play. I mean, there's no doubt of it. And he's one of those shifty, talented, knowledgeable guys that could play as long as he wanted, to be honest with you, as long as his body allowed him to. So it's just a matter of what Reggie has in store for Reggie, or what Reggie's plans are, and and we'll see. I'll be, I don't want to be the first to say it, but I'll be very surprised if Reggie doesn't play in the 2016 season somewhere.
I'm still seeing that they're still signing players at least to Portland, because of what the commissioner did there. But that's another whole story.
Well, you're still having tryouts right now.
Yeah, your teams are having tryouts. I think the Kiss are having like a tryout this weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're still having tryouts. So he could end up with the rest of the SaberCats that went down to L.A., with DJ Stevens. And imagine DJ Stevens, Donovan Morgan, and Reggie Gray on the same line that Nathan Stanley, or maybe if you were to come back, no pressure.
I mean, I don't know if anybody would put up with me. I'm a one and done type of guy these days, I would have a broken bone or some kind of concussion or something.
We know that even though you didn't physically play for the Cats this past year, but you had some kind of persuasion on Eric Meyer, to make his transition to the game and to the way that Terry Malley, you weren't under Terry Malley ever, but back in the heydays, because he went off to San Jose State. But Terry Malley was a great coach, and I know you and Terry Malley probably helped with Eric Meyer this offseason, because I know you hung out with the organization during the season a lot.
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed my time. Coach Malley, this was the first time I met him this year, and amazing guy. I can't say enough good things about him. His knowledge, his demeanor, his charisma, which is hard to believe if you just meet him. Amazing guy. I respect the hell out of him. I can't say enough good things, and I would say the same about Eric. I was really proud of the way Eric played this year. I think he took a little bit of a beating, and he kept getting up and kept performing. So it was a lot of fun to be around. A great group of guys, and I wish him the best. Eric, is Eric planning on playing this year?
He hasn't been picked up yet.
That's what I was saying. The last I talked to him, I didn't think he was, but we'll see.
Yeah. So with that said, now what do you think about the fans in San Jose? How do you think where the fans were, Eric?
I thought it was a great group. I can't say, I can't say anything bad about my experience here. The fans are dedicated. The coaches were dedicated. The ownership was dedicated. This is the environment you want to play in as a professional athlete. And it's really too bad that the organization isn't continuing, because like I said, it has the commitment that you hope every team in the league. I shouldn't say it has. It had the commitment, right? Which is even more concerning for the league in general, right? That you want to be around as a player.
Yes.
And the fans here were great. Welcomed me amazingly. I really enjoyed my time playing here.
Yeah. Okay. I have to bring up a little point. It was the season ticket holder barbecue towards the end of the season? Not this past year, but the year before. I was doing something where I was filming on Ninth Man TV for the San Jose's Ninth Man fan club I run for the SaberCats. Little blips from each of the players. So I went down the table. For whatever reason, Russ wasn't at this table. He was off on his own little VIP table that he had.
Shoot.
And I went to go
probably because I was in a sling or something. Who knows?
No. You're in one piece. I didn't want to touch it because I don't know what body part would fall
that
off.
That wasn't the VIP. That was where it was like not a handicap, but
exactly.
It was
right.
Yeah. So I get to him, and I'm about to do his part on it, and then right when I'm about to roll, I'm actually shooting with my old iPhone there at the time and interviewing. It's basically saying the players were saying thank you to the fans for the year. That's what it was. He gets a call, and I had to put on. So I'm like the type of guy to where I don't want to pressure the issues. Years past, I would say honestly, I didn't have this accessibility with the players and even the kittens, to do this. But the way things were the last couple of years, and with the new business manager that was running the office, Mike Razzo did a fantastic job with the team. And it's just like, I wanted the players to give back, which I thought was a good rapport with the players, with the fans, to give back and just say simply thank you.
I feel like I'm not going to be shown in a good light when this story ends, but please continue.
No, actually, I probably won't. Because
okay.
I don't even know where he's going with this, so I'm in the same boat.
He gets a call,
and
then the call ends, but I'm already moved on because I didn't want to interrupt this call. I didn't know if it was like maybe his wife or some personal family member. I didn't know who it was. But now the party is ending, and I go and reach out to him, and he comes up to me and says, Eric, so what happened? I thought I was going to be featured on Ninth Man TV, like this. I said, well, I didn't want to, interrupt you. I didn't know. He said, oh, man, that was just Ben Nelson calling from the locker room. I was like, oh, man. And everything's basically already done. Everybody's winding down. I got a little red because the turf there is kind of reflective.
Yeah.
And I always miss doing my own advice about getting sunscreen. But I was out to my car, but I did feature one thing. So that's where he nailed me. Not being able to be featured on Ninth Man 2 with the other players.
See, okay,
So
good.
You're thinking the worst and everything.
That's why I had to get his cell phone
Yeah.
number. Say, hey, come and do this new thing called Ninth Man Nation.
There you go.
We'll feature you because you're one of the starlets of of the league.
Yeah, and
everybody has respect.
Here he is right now.
Right in person, yeah.
There you go.
So, but
appreciate that.
the one thing that I did do for him that a lot of the other players don't have is I played that SaberCat anthem song that I produced
I do remember that.
out of my car.
Was
So-
that the same day?
Yeah, it was the same day because
Okay.
I got you right out of the
Yeah,
parking lot.
I remember.
And but after that, he said, "Oh man, I appreciate." He's all, "I appreciate this, but damn, Eric, I don't want to be on video."
I'm a ham. I'm really self-involved.
No, it was going. That's the way great, and I think that's where sort of more of the relationship that Russ and I have sort of developed now has come out, and that's one thing about Arena Football League. You don't get that kind of interaction. With a lot of like the NFL players, you say, "Oh, hi, nice. I'm so and so from the NFL, this team," and then no, nice to meet you. And then they sign a picture. Okay, on your way now, next person. Like it's a factory line with them,
Yeah.
and. That's where I think, the AFL has its own, agenda where they could be more fan oriented. Come to Arena Football game. It's more personal.
Yeah.
Right there. There's a quote right there for the league, for the
Yeah.
season. It's personal.
Yes.
And that's how the families could get into it and get. So.
That's so true.
You know.
I agree, though, that the engagement between fans and players, all of it is different than any other environment you'll ever be in, right? And I say that in a very good way, right? It's a fun game. You love being around it, and it's interesting. You talk about you used to hear stories about Kurt Warner used to be that guy that stood out in no matter where he was, whether it was St. Louis or Arizona or wherever, that he would sign every damn last autograph until people left, and I think that is kind of bred from being a part of this game and seeing how involved and how personal you can get with people and what a difference and what a an impact it makes on people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the fans, then there wouldn't be any game, right? Because
In any
it all
sport,
runs off of that.
it's
so.
like business 101. If you don't have a customer, like we're here at a restaurant, if you don't have customers walking through the door to order food, no matter how big or small, you're not going to be in business. If you don't have fans to buy, whether it be tickets, I know from a business model that the teams make more money from sponsorships. But as far as for the sponsorships, if they don't see that their product
They need
is
the
being
eyeballs,
viewed,
right? It's the market.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's it. So, you brought up with the Kurt Warner thing, his exposure to the league and bringing his AFL, relationship with the fans to the NFL for him personally, and I'm sure he still does it with his experience on the NFL Network. What do you think about when your time in Chicago? Did you hear anything about the media out there doing to Rasheed Davis, who came from the SaberCats and did that 3-year stint with the Bears? Did you hear also about that too?
I don't know. I don't think Rasheed had the same limelight in Chicago. You know what I mean? Whereas Kurt was that large personality, right? I've spent a lot of time with Rasheed, a great guy. I know he's very involved in the community. I've been involved with multiple charity events that he's put on and done, but I just don't think he got the same media attention.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Whereas Kurt was,
because he won the Super Bowl last and went to it twice.
Yeah.
That helps, and he's a quarterback. A quarterback tends to get a little more limelight than anybody else.
Exactly, right. I think Rasheed's influence in the city was absolutely relevant and very visible. But I just, like you said, I just don't think it was. I just don't think it was as pronounced or as marketed as Kurt's was.
Yeah, and he was a great guy in San Jose. I know he won like the 9th Man Player of the Year when I started doing those yearly awards back when I had the ability to do so. And I had to actually send it to his parents' house out here in San Jose. So, because he was in Chicago being Mr. NFL guy now.
Well, he made a great career for himself too, right? And
yeah.
and that's
what
another.
Was he 6 years in the NFL?
I think he got more than that. We'd have to go look it up. I don't know.
I mean, that's
think
hard to do, right?
Yeah.
To be
I know he
consistent
played
like
like year to year for like 2 to 3 years with Chicago, and then I know they came back and offered him a 3-year deal. Whether he finished all that out or not, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So maybe it was only 6.
Yeah. So I guess that's basically it. We want to thank Russ for taking the time out on this weekend, come out now, and he needs to have a lobster roll. He's had it here when he comes to the post game parties in the years past at this place, the Blue Water. That's why it's so enticing to bring the SaberCat players back here because they love this place.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what fits. And plus, Russ, lives nearby and all that stuff. So it sounds like, like you said, he migrated from the windy, snowy city. Now he's saving his shoulder from doing all the shoulder digs, to get out to his car.
Exactly.
In those cold starts.
Yeah, I've been in California all my life. I don't think I've ever touched a snow shovel.
I think we're spoiled out here in San Jose.
Yeah.
I know, we were watching the Super Bowl recently. My parents called me back in Chicago. Said it was in the single digits that day. And we're 75 and sunny. And I said, well, you guys are free to join me anytime you want, right?
Yeah.
You're both retired. You might as well make the trip.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I win that battle or not. But time will only
that's to
tell,
be continued,
right?
And we'll feature Russ on that when that decides on another episode of The Nation.
There you go. I'm sure that's what everyone's worried about.
So we want to thank, again, Tom and I would like to thank Russ for coming out here. And earlier we had Commissioner Butera. We'd like to thank him for being on our show. And we'll see you next time on the episode podcast for Ninth Man Nation. Remember to follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, SoundCloud. We're also now on Spreaker, too, so you'll get our podcast on there and also on iTunes. So we'll take you on in 2 weeks, and that'll be our next episode. We'll see you then. Take it easy.